Okay, so Susan, I know you can introduce yourself better than I can, but I'm going to give you a little intro and then you fix all the mistakes and then just tell us how even more awesome you are. So, Susan has known about Cincy since the very beginning. A lot of people don't know, but she is Orville's sister. And so she probably knows a lot of really good embarrassing stories about Orville. We could probably talk her into telling us at least one. But she's been with Cincy, and she could probably tell you she's been somewhat involved since towards the beginning of it, in different aspects. And I got to know Susan because whenever I promoted to superstar director, we were assigned a concierge. And so Susan was mine. And so we bonded, and she's someone that I have a lot of respect for. She has been in the trenches with new consultants, with leaders, with superstar directors. So she's kind of seen it all, and she knows how this business works, and she knows how we can be better at different roles. And she's, in my eyes, I know that she's analyzed and studied and just seen kind of what works to keep your directorship or your star directorship or even promote to director again. And so, I mean, Susan's been around since it started in what, '04. And I know you can probably give a little bit better of an intro than that, but tell them kind of maybe what, just for fun, what your, like how you got involved initially and kind of what you thought about Cincy in the beginning.
Oh, well, thank you for sure. I will say that that was quite the intro. Yes, I am Orville's sister, and yes, I have known about it and done, a little bit from the beginning. When it first started, I was actually teaching school though, and had a husband that was being diagnosed with MS, which he didn't end up having, but he still, has been sick all these years. And then I had teenage daughters and some almost teenage daughters. I had 5 of them, and they were all crazy because those hormones at those ages are just kind of interesting. But during that time, I would help Orville. He'd call me up and say, I have to pull an all-nighter because I need some bars. And so I would go out there and I'd use the little picture and help pour bars. And my 3 oldest children were the original employees that shrink wrapped those big square bars. And, so from the very beginning, in fact, I got he came back with the van full of stuff and gave me for Christmas a mustard warmer. I don't know if anybody's even seen one of those, but it was one of the original 4 warmers that they had, and I gave it back to him for Christmas a couple of years ago. He has it in his office, up with his other trinkets. But I also, just so you know, I've also been in the trenches with you. I was also a director in Cincy. The year of 2009, I was a director in at Salt Lake in the convention there in Salt Lake, and it was the only year that they didn't have a director box. I'm thinking that Orville, my mom got on the stage that year, and I think that was just about all that he could stand. And it was like, nope, Susan can't walk the stage. She can't do it. I can't have any more family up there on the stage. But anyway, it was fun. But yes, I have done several things. I thoroughly miss being the concierge. I thought that was just such an incredible job for me. I miss all you guys, Jackie, Jacqueline, and friends. However, I am just so excited that I still get to coach, because I think that is something very important. At the moment, I wear several hats. I'm over the Hispanic group and do the training and the strategy for Mexico and work on catalog and all of those things for Mexico, plus do all the training for Spanish and work through all of that. And then also coach and I co-teach sometimes with Sydney and work tour and all of those things. So I love being on the training and development team. I love having the hat of working with the Hispanics and being that country manager as well. And I absolutely love coaching. So I'm really excited that Jacqueline specified that talking about this one-on-one coaching would be a good topic for tonight. I'm really excited about that. So I just kind of want to look in, oh, thanks, Patty. I was just now looking at the chat. I'm just wondering how many of you, if you've taken the coaching class or the little snippet in accelerated leadership, if you'll just put in the chat, yes, so I can just kind of see, or you could just raise your hands. I see some of you, I don't see all of you. Okay, so there's been some, but not all. Okay, currently doing it, fabulous. ACL, me, proud graduate, woo, through ACL. Okay, so I don't want to go into a ton of detail today about it, but I do want to spend some time just giving you, for some of you, a little bit of a refresher, for others of you, and maybe a little bit more information, and others of you, a good introduction to it, and hopefully you'll delve a little bit more into it when we have another coaching class and an ACL class. To start off, though, I want to share, and it looks like I can share screen, thank you. I want to share a little video I think is just kind of fun. What it does is it kind of gives you a really good visual of what I feel like coaching is. Let me share that. Okay, can everybody see that? Can you see it, Jackie? Okay, let me go ahead and start that then. Oh, it just didn't play the right one. This is not the right one. This is a good coaching one, by the way.
They get you in the door with a free
So now I need to
trip.
just go back because that one came afterwards. So let me stop share for a minute and go back to the right video.
Dinner or sometimes just a Visa gift card. Then they tell you
If there's any secret product videos you want to show us, feel free to accidentally show it.
Yeah, I could do that too.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let me share the screen again. Let me take it back just a little bit. Okay, so stage one, meet. Okay. Let me get rid of that one. Okay, from that, what do you see as coaching? What did you notice in this wordless video? You can either put it in the chat or unmute, either one.
A lot of times the person was showing them how to do things. They didn't know how to, do different or accomplish different tasks. And so the other person just kind of took over and showed them and then let them do it.
Okay, all right. Anything else? The right tools, yes, having the right tools.
They sat down and actually asked them what their vision was and what they wanted to achieve. It wasn't what we wanted them to achieve. And so, and then they helped them along the way and just kept sharing tools. And when they tried to step some of the rungs on the ladder, they're like, no, here's the rungs you missed.
I love it. I love it. So yes, gave them the right, and Danielle kind of said what you said, Patty, gave them the tools, but didn't do the work. Yes. And that's the whole thing. Yes. In the beginning. Okay. So, what are you here for? Well, I want to get from here to here. Okay. Well, what does that look like? And so there was a whole lot of just saying, okay, well then let me ask this question. And that's the tool. And then they were able to take that and draw up their own plan, and they, he gave him the way to do the work, but they did the work. And that's how they actually got there. And if you notice anything else?
Even when it didn't, even when it got hard, he still was there supporting him.
Yes, exactly. So when it was hard and he kind of fell back, didn't quite become successful, caught him, helped him through other ideas, smaller steps perhaps, to get to where he wanted to be. I love that, Jackie. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, with that in mind, hopefully that kind of just gave you a really great foundation. Now, those of you that have been in accelerated leadership and in the coaching class, these slides are going to be familiar. And so those of you that have not taken those classes, I love all of this information. So those of you who have, please, by all means, make comments and in the chat or unmute yourself and let me hear from all of you as well. And those that, if you have questions, please ask me. Okay, so again, I'm going to share my screen and start with this. This picture. Okay, so those of you that have had the class will know what I'm talking about, but this is really one of the things that I love. We talk a lot about how knowledge is very important, and hopefully that knowledge brings us to action. But there's so many times in our life when just because we have the knowledge doesn't mean that action is going to take place. There's so many things that we could want to do, we have the knowledge to do, but we don't actually do it. I'm trying to come up with a different example other than, the obvious ones. Exercise. Obviously, we all know that exercise is great for us. It's going to keep our bodies oiled. It's going to keep them moving a lot longer. But for my part, very seldom propels me into action. Or the things that I should not do. I shouldn't eat too much sugar, but boy, I find myself eating too much sugar just because I know that sugar is going to do bad things to my health and it's not going to allow me to be my best self. Does it carry me forth to that action? Not all the time. Taking that into the Sensi world. I'm sure that you guys have such a great, you're all leaders. You're all directors. You have groups. You have been leading. you know how to lead, but does that always carry forth into your actions? You know how to recruit, but does that mean that you take that knowledge and you turn that into action so that you can become successful? Not all the time. So even the best expert can need to fill in that gap. And as you know, that gap is filled in sometimes by coaching. I love the fact that what coaching really is getting you to pull out the knowledge that you have and turn that knowledge into action so that you can change your life, you can change your business, you can change whatever it is that you want to change using that knowledge to get to a certain point. So very important just to understand exactly what coaching is. I love it. Okay, any questions so far? I don't see anything in the chat, and I can only see a few of your faces. So please, if I don't acknowledge you, jump right in and interrupt me. Okay. Let's just talk a little bit. This is something we talk a lot about in the class, and when I talk about coaching in general. Jacqueline is going to know this because we had lots of conversations. And in the beginning, Jacqueline, how did our conversations go?
Well, you would ask me a lot of questions. What do I want out of my Scentsy business? Where do I, what are my goals? Blah, blah, blah. And then we would look at everything and analyze after you'd ask me what I wanted. And I think you did it too, just to see if what I wanted was aligning with what I had, right?
Yeah, we'd analyze your business.
But you'd ask a lot of questions.
And that is one thing that I love, the fact that coaching came fairly natural to me before I learned how to coach, before I became certified in coaching. However, there was a lot of times when it was, well, tell me what to do. Well, okay, well, there was another superstar director that I was just talking to, and they were doing this, and I think that's a really good idea. So maybe you could try that. There was a lot of that, right, Jacqueline?
Yep.
Okay, so there were some questions going on, there was some coaching going on. However, before I was certified in coaching, there was a lot of mentoring going on. And for sure, we say it in the class all the time, and I will say it here again, mentoring is not a bad thing. However, when you're at the point that you guys are, when you're leaders and you know things, mentoring is not the appropriate thing to do. There were so many times when I would mentor superstar directors in my one-on-one conversations with them, and we'd get to the next month and we'd get on that call, and so how'd you do? Oh, I forgot. Or, oh man, I just didn't quite get it done. That is the biggest hurdle with mentoring versus coaching, because so many times when you tell someone what to do, when you act like you are the expert, which you could be, you absolutely could be, but it doesn't mean that you have to express that. When you are setting the goals for them, and they're not going to pay as much attention to it. They're not going to be as eager to get it done. There are some great things about mentoring. It's really important that in this business, you have a trusted advisor. You have someone that can help you analyze what's going on and find those mistakes and correct those mistakes. So there are good things that can happen as a mentor. However, the power of getting your team to move and to do is going to be through coaching. And coaching is all about this, asking questions, asking great questions. And I'll go into that a little bit in just a minute too. No, you let the coachee be the expert. In the really real world of business, the coachee really does come into someone that knows nothing about what is going on with the coachee. However, in this business, you guys are doing the coaching. You guys are coaching each other. You really kind of are the expert, but you back off and allow them to be the expert in that thing. you look to the coachee for the answers to those questions. And the biggest thing I can tell you, just be comfortable with silence. Silence is very powerful. So many times when you've asked a question and they say, I don't know, then the desire is to just jump right in and say, well, then let me give you some examples, or let me give you some help. Most of the time, if you just hear them say, well, I don't know. They're going to start to think, because then it's like, oh, wait, she's not going to just jump in. So give them that silence, and then don't interrupt it, because once they realize that they're going to give you an answer, it takes a while to formulate those answers. And if you just jump right in, then you stop that thinking process. So allow those silences, be comfortable with the silences, fall in love with those silences. And let your coachee know that the purpose of the silence is just to allow you to get from point A to point B in your thoughts, so that they become comfortable with it as well. Because you don't want them to be uncomfortable. You don't want them to not want to come back and talk to you because you put them on the spot. But let the power of silence help you out. For sure, let the coachee set those goals. And then last, there has to be accountability. They really need to be the one that jumps on that little trampoline and starts the process. They're the ones that need to take that pencil and draw the plan. They're the ones that need to climb up that rung. You're just there to support them. You're there to help them when they fall, so that you can chat with them again and say, okay, what went wrong? What might you be able to do better? So it's so important to allow those silences. Any questions or comments?
I do feel like when you were coaching me too, I felt like I was held accountable, but I never felt like I was talked down to or shamed for something, or like you ever told me what to do. I always felt like you pulled it out of me. Like you would ask me, yeah, almost like a therapist, you would turn everything into a question around on me instead of telling me, I can't think of an example right now, but instead of telling me what I should be doing to get a recruit, what have you done to da da da, or it was always questions. And so, which is really powerful, because I felt like too, the next month when I would have our coaching meeting, I wasn't scared to chat with you or worry that she's going to talk down, or, oh my gosh, I didn't meet all my goals, I missed one, she's going to be upset because she told me to do this. No, it was more like I left it and I was like, okay, we just had our chat, I need to go do this, this, and this, this is what I want, not what Susan wants, but what I want. And so I think I walked away with it feeling like I did all the goal setting, even though you helped me do that too. That makes sense.
It does. And thank you. And I paid her to say those things.
You did. You can Venmo me at.
Oh, you're so sweet, Jacqueline. Thanks.
I think it's very eye-opening. I was Jenny Ledoux's +1 for this incredible meeting, and I just promoted to a lead consultant like this week. So it's kind of eye-opening to see the transition. Like Jacqueline looked up to Susan, and now I'm looking up to Jacqueline. So we almost like we evolve into that next step, and it's pretty eye-opening to see how the actual ladder kind of climbs, if that makes sense. Because then like I know that the struggles I'm having that I'll go to Jenny or Jacqueline or somebody with are the same struggles, so to speak, that Jacqueline went to you with. And so it's just kind of eye-opening to see it on that side and that transition.
Oh, I love that, Jackie. Thank you so much. And that is so true. You just really, really want to learn those skills so that you can pass them on. And Jacqueline, what a great job you're doing with your gals, so that they can feel that and move forward. And Jackie, you're on a great roll, and you're on a great trail, and you're on your way. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, big things. You're going to do big things. There was a comment that I wanted to address. Let's see. Thank you, Shonda. Let's see. Patty, I've had to be intentional about asking questions. Yes, that intentional questions are so important. It's hard sometimes to get them to come up with their own solutions and to start to answer their own questions. And I love that. Well, if you did know, what would you do? So many times when they're like, well, I just don't know. Well, if you did know, what would you do? I mean, you just kind of get it. That's one of my most powerful. I love that question. It's frustrating. What's frustrating is when they say they want to, but they don't do. That's why one of the Patty, I think I remember maybe even saying this in the class that you were in. I think that one of the things that one of the questions that I love more than anything, it's at the very end, I will always ask, okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this plan? And then it's like, well, maybe a 7. Fabulous. That's a good start. So what can we do to this plan to make it a 10? And until they get to a 10 and they're excited about what they're going to do, then again, it's not their plan. So then hopefully they can get to a point where, woohoo, yeah, I'm ready to go because it's exciting to me. So I love that question. And I think that is that. Thank you. Yes, Susan, I paid me. No, you paid me well, Jacqueline. I mean, I paid you well for you to say that. Okay. Fabulous. Okay. Yes, I love that, Patty. Thank you. And if any of you others have any comments or questions, please put it on there.
Hey, Susan,
Okay.
I do have one question, and you may get to this. You can tell me you'll answer it later. But a lot of times I do one-on-ones every month, and some of them I'll notice that they're not doing any of the things. It's like they just want to hang out with you or just want your time, but then they're all talking. They're not really doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
With those type of people, at what point do you say this is just a waste? And I don't mean that bad, because Cincy is built on friendships and family. But if I could pick this girl and this girl, and this girl's actually doing all the work every month, and this girl just wants to chat, but these are my business hours where it's our livelihood. At what point, I mean, and you can be blunt, no one's going to get their feelings hurt, but do you wait that out and see if they're going to change? What's your best advice for that?
Well, you can obviously, it's your business and you can do what you'd like. I personally would change my questions. I personally would say, okay, so we talk about playing devil's advocate quite often in the class and do a little bit of role playing on that. And I might use at that point and say, okay, so we've done this class we've done this one-on-one for several months now. And I see that you're having a really difficult time getting these action items completed. What's getting in your way? And then start a conversation about what's getting in their way. Mm-hmm. And then coach through that. And instead of coaching through, well, how are you going to get your 2 recruits? Or how are you going to get your sales this month? Or how are you going to get that incentive trip? Coach on what's getting in their way. Coach on the thing that's keeping them down. It might be, they might just say, well, I've started, having to go into my child's classroom every day and it's kind of getting in the way. Okay, so let's coach through that. How can you rearrange your business or what to do what you need to do? Or is this still important to you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is your business to you? And then you can actually go into a coaching session that is going to get results, not rather than just time wasted. Does that help?
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Patty just said something too. Fear is usually the answer that she gets. Mental health problems. I don't even know where to begin sometimes on questioning that. That's a tough one.
Well, and this might be, again, playing devil's advocate. If they do come up with those things like, okay, well, I've just been depressed for 3 months, and I can't seem to get out of this depression. Okay, well, then So what you're telling me is that depression is really getting in the way of your business. So what are some of the things that you let's coach through that. Let's figure out how you can run your business through depression or working through depression. Okay, so what are some options? So what are some options of that you can think of? Think of some things. Let's brainstorm of ways to get around your depression, and then get through that, because there sometimes they do want a therapist or what have you. You're not the therapist, but you can coach them into getting one. You can coach them into getting some happy lights in the middle of November because there's not enough sunshine. You can coach them into all kinds of ideas as to how to, get out there and take a walk for an hour every day to have the fresh air and just the different things that might, and they may be somebody that needs medication, just they know what they need. Help them pull out the knowledge that they know about themselves and to get through it. So I don't know if they're wanting to have coaching calls with you, there's something there. They still have a desire. Find out how to weed through all the things to find out how to foster that desire. I hope that helps.
I'm going to be really honest. I really struggle with this one because I'd say it's probably the 90% of the things I hear. And I know most of them are on medication. And I know most of them, it's quite serious with whatever their mental health issue is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they want things, but I know it's also a vicious cycle of, well, if I had the energy, I would do it, but I don't have the energy. But my mind, I want to do it. My heart wants to do it, but my body and my mind are going, yeah, not so much today. And so I don't understand depression from a feeling it point of view, because I've never been that person. And I'm like, just fucking get to it. Like, I just swore at Orville's sister. Anyway.
Beep. Oh wait, that was too late. Too late.
I was gonna say somebody should know I should have a beep in there. But it is, and I really, because it's not just what I do really like the questions that you said of, well, I see that you're struggling to complete the action plan that you had, that we talked about, or you had said. But at one point, the people that have the highest potential with the worst mental health are the ones that are stuck. And I don't know how to even coach them, because I've done a lot of what you said. There's some good things I've just learned, but I don't know how. Yeah. I don't know how to come across with like being firm with that. Like, I am empathetic to it, but yet part of me is like, I'm over it. So how do I still coach them? Yes, please interrupt.
So being someone that's crazy and takes medication for it, like the other,
Not
the
crazy.
girl that just needs to get over it, if, in my opinion and in my experience, if I'm coming to you and I'm reaching out to you, I know the kind of person that you are, and I know the kind of person and how you're going to act with me. Sometimes it is about coaching, I feel, and it is about, being that person, but sometimes it's just being a friend. Like, when I have had my absolute worst days and been in the darkest of holes, and I've gone to people or went onto YouTube and watched videos, and I've had people, suggest. So like, sometimes don't carry somebody else's world on your shoulders. You've got your world enough, but just be their friend and continue to genuinely be you. Because if they genuinely know who you are and they know that they can reach out to you and you're going to give them your 100%, sometimes that's what it takes. And then in the same, this is just as much my business as it is your business, as it is their business. And I feel like we all started this knowing that we wanted to do a business. So sometimes you can't help somebody. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But it's just about being their friend, being real to who you are and you as a person. And I just looked over and saw Susan just sitting there and I'm like, oh Lord, I just took over the show. I apologize. But I think that's just the important is be who you are. And that will help other people be who they are. When they see you doing it and you're happy in it, then that can bring a lot more happiness than you realize.
Yeah. And
Thank you,
Jackie,
Jackie.
Jackie,
Thank
I'm
you,
going to
Jackie.
I want to take a little further with you, Jackie. Sorry, Patty.
That's okay.
Let me take it a little further with you, Jackie, if you want to unmute, and let's just, because I think this is an important one, because I think that most of you find this in your businesses and kind of really deal with it and want to be able to coach through it. So Jackie, if I were to coach you, and if I were to come up and I would just say, and you told me, I'm not doing this because, I fail at it because I'm fighting with my depression. And if I said to you, okay, Jackie, so, in the past, how have you worked through your depression? Would you be offended by that? Or would that be something, that you'd be like, oh, okay, well, let me think for a minute.
No, I think that's a fantastic question. And I think that's a question that a lot of people forget, because when you're darkest and you're in your darkest days, you forget completely 100% forget what the rainbows and the butterflies look like. And so having somebody ask that and go, okay, remember when it was bad last time, what steps did you take? How can I help you make these steps? Do you need a recommendation for a motivational speaker? Do you need to find out about Melissa Grabs or whatever?
This is how I would do it differently than what you're talking about, Jackie. Yes, absolutely. But instead of saying, have you done this? Do you need I would say, okay, Jackie, how did you do it in the past? And then I would allow you to tell me, well, I listened to motivational speakers. I got my happy lights out. I, et cetera, et cetera. And then I would say, okay, so out of those things that you've mentioned, which one would seem to be the one that could get you started? And then you could tell me, well, motivational speaker really helped me out. Okay, so can you commit to listening to a motivational speaker in the next little while?
Yeah.
Then okay, so now that we've had this plan, how comfortable do you feel with this plan?
Right.
1 to 10. Yeah.
Exactly.
So do you see how you can get around that, Patty? And move through that. And so you can, if you ask really good questions, you can help them through those things without shutting them down. And you're not being patronizing, and you're not being you're not being like, I'm done, I don't have any patience. You're allowing them to find answers to how they can become better, therefore move forward with their business as well.
Yeah, I thank you so much, everybody, and Aubrey and everybody in the chat too. It's something that I really struggle with because I'm very blunt and black and white and just say it. My heart is everybody's 100%. I come with love. If somebody called me at 3:00 in the morning and was in trouble, whether I liked them or not, I'd come running. But when it comes to business and it comes to, well, you said you want to do this, so do it.
Yeah. And that's when you rely really heavily on staying curious, asking the questions, rather than feeling like you have to come up with a plan, whether you have to force them into the plan. Stick with those questions. Find some really good questions that are kind of a staple, since it's a whole lot of your group that's this way. Think of some of the questions that maybe I went with Jackie just right there, and memorize them. Make sure that they just come to you like this, so that you don't have to worry about what you're going to ask them, and then allow them to fill in the gaps. And for sure, stay curious. I love that. You got to stay curious and just allow them to figure out where they're going and how they're going to get there. Thank you. Sorry for the F-bomb. I don't say sorry to anybody. I'm just saying. Oh, you're so sweet, Patty. Not a problem.
She's going to go to Orville, so you're in big trouble, Patty.
I'm telling Orville.
I think I've said that in front of Orville too. I'm pretty sure. So
I am sure you have, and I'm sure Chuck's heard a few of them, and maybe even said a few.
I have more fun. I have more fun watching Dan's jaw drop when I talk, and he just looks at me and shakes his head.
Okay, so let me see if there's anything on here that I missed. Jackie, Jacqueline, have you been looking at it? Is there anything there that yes, sometimes they do need blunt, and that's when we talk about devil's advocate. Okay, well, let me be the devil's advocate. This is what I'm hearing, et cetera. I literally had that stay curious sticky note on my computer. I love it. Stay curious. It's so, so important. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. And I'm just going to throw this in here for those of you that haven't taken the class. What coaching really is unlocking that person's potential to maximize their own performance, helping them to learn rather than, you're not a teacher at this point. They know, they have the knowledge. You're just helping them to reach their potential and maximize their own performance. I love this one. It's, boy, I didn't realize it was going to be so big, but here you go. This is one that I think is so great. You can tell whether a man is clever by his answers. You can tell whether the man is wise by his questions. So when you're coaching, stay curious, be wise. So important. And I love this too. And let's talk about this just a little bit too. When you're more coach-like, research and experience tells us that there are two outcomes. One, you enable stronger humans. Number two, you enable stronger performance. So both of those things I feel like are so important to the Sensi culture. That is what we are all about. You want them to perform, you want them to be strong performers, but we're also trying to enable stronger humans. We want each other to be better than we were yesterday. We're not here, just for the money. We are here to make the world a better place. Okay, anyone have any? I threw those three out there. The three. What's the word in English? Slides out there really quickly. Sorry. I get going in my Spanish when I'm doing the trainings, like the Spanish is out. So any comments on the things that those three slides real quick?
So I have a question. What is your mentality before you have a coaching call? Because sometimes I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. Like I've got this 30 minutes with someone and I've got to get in the right headspace. And then I have self-doubt as far as like, what can I offer them? What can I teach them that they don't know? Especially some of my leaders. I mean, I truly feel like I have some of the best leaders in Sensi. So I get that doubt on my shoulders. Like, what can I even teach them? So am I going into that with the wrong mentality of what can I teach them, to whereas what can I pull out of them by just asking more questions? Like what mental headspace, before you say would call a rock star like Patty Wonder and coach them for 30 minutes? Do you,
well,
how does that, what do you mentally think about before? Do you feel the weight sometimes of those calls beforehand, or do you just,
I used to. Okay. I used to feel that way. Now, a few minutes before the call, I make sure I have my paper here and a pen, the end. And all my paper is your name, the date, what your objective is for the call, current situation, alternatives, and choices, going through the coach model. All I do is now come with a blank slate. I am no longer the expert. I no longer have to be the expert. That's all. I come to the call and I put it on your shoulders. You go to the call with Pat, with awesome Patty Wonder, and say, okay, Patty, what you got for me? And it is now Patty's show, because that's where it needs to be. I will say that I do kind of keep a list of questions. These are in Spanish because sometimes I have a hard time remembering really how to put my questions in Spanish. And so I do have my questions here sometimes so that I can remember some great questions. So you might want to have a list of questions somewhere where you can, ask really quick. But when you have great questions, that should be the only thing on your shoulders. The only thing on your shoulders before the call is, okay, do I have some good questions in mind? And the best question, I think that this is the best. In fact, I'm gonna turn the slide because this is the name of the book. I love this book is so simple and it is so quick, but it is the best. It's so easy. The Coaching Habit. Say less, ask more, and change the way you lead forever. And so in reality, Jacqueline, don't take that on your shoulders. It's so much easier for you to allow them to take all that. But at the same time, if you feel a little guilty about that, it's also so much better for them when you say less, when you stay curious, when you are allowing them to come up with those answers. They're going to be more confident. They're going to be more self-motivated. They're going to end up being such better humans and such better performers when you allow them that responsibility. I love it. And in the last of this book, I'm just gonna throw out a couple of really good questions. So Jacqueline, if I were gonna start a call, then these are questions that really help move things along. And if I have these questions right there on the ready, 90% of my work is done. The first one, what's on your mind? What is it today that's got you blocked? Just right out there. I mean, that's after the little, I like to chat a little bit. Some of you guys like to chat a little bit, some not at all, but if you like to chat a little bit, then after that, okay, so what's on your mind? Then you help them figure out, just ask questions to get them to tell you what it is that they need help with. When you're doing the part where you brainstorm ideas, I love this one. This is one of my very favorite questions. Okay, and what else? So if I were talking to Jackie like I was earlier, okay, so you mentioned to me that you like motivational speakers and you use happy, those are my words, but I'm going to call them yours, Jackie, and you use happy lights and you like to go out and walk for an hour. Well, what else? What else might you do? And then when sometimes they want to talk about a lot of different things, or they get off course, and you just they get kind of lost in what they've even come for. If you can't get them back to the objectives that you've set in the first place, okay, what's the real challenge here for you? This is a good one, Patty, for you. When you're talking about and all the rest of you, I don't mean to be ignoring you. These are just the people that have come to the surface. So if any of you others have anything, please come. I'm not trying to ignore you. But what's the real challenge here? We were talking about earning the incentive, but for the last couple of times, it hasn't happened. You haven't been doing the work that you wanted to do. So what's the real challenge for you? And allow them to think. Or what is it that you really want? How can I help? And then this is one I love to end on. Like I said, I love that question 1 to 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, but this one's a good one too. What was most useful to you? So if I were asking Jackie in that list, okay, that list of things, what was most useful to you in helping you get through that? What was most useful to you in recruiting when you first started? What was most useful to you in sharing that LTO the last time you had an LTO? So those are some really great questions. But that is what I can say more than anything. Say less, ask more, stay curious, love the silence, and allow them to for sure come up with their answers, their plan, pull that knowledge out of them rather than thinking you have to give them knowledge. Pull it out of them.
Can I
and let them
can I
do it.
touch on that just real quick? And it made sense
Absolutely.
in my head. Stop thinking of coaching calls as a coaching call. Think of them as getting to know someone. When you all these questions that Susan's pointing out, it's all directed to the opposite person. And then I go back even further to that first video she had us watch. The first guy had to go through it before he could help the second guy. So understand that there's going to be questions coming from where you were. And if you get to know someone, then you get to understand their heart. And if you can understand their heart, you know what questions to better ask and how to just be there as a director or as a leadership role. So stop holding it as a coaching call and more of a getting to know someone call, getting to listen. Take the time to listen, like Susan was saying.
Listening is definitely very much key to a coaching call, into coaching. Okay, well, as you can see, those are just quick overview of one-on-one coaching. There's so much more, and I hope you can learn more, but I would love to answer any more great questions. Patty, you put us on a really good conversation there. I don't know what time it is. I don't know how much time. I think we're almost out of time, but if there's any questions or any others that would like to.
I think that this is, I'll let you go. This is really good for me because I tend to fill the gaps and I don't allow silence as much as I should. And I'll answer for people. So instead of them thinking, I will answer or tell them what to do, in some instances. And that probably doesn't do them any good, And so I like that. I took 2 pages of notes. So I'm excited. Thank you, Susan, for doing this tonight. And then someone else was going to say something.
Big mouth wonder over here again. My first thing is one sales tech. I've been in sales a long time. And one of the things I try to really teach my team is whether it's you're selling something or you're offering someone the opportunity, don't verbal diarrhea on them, but it kind of fits into this as well. And the word is those who talk first buy it back. So, or whoever talks first buys it. So if you're talking to somebody about the opportunity and you get to that point where you're closing them and you're like, oh, are you ready? Let's go. And they're thinking, if you start talking to fill in that silence, you're buying the kit back. So you might unsell it to them. Same thing with products. So I have to because that always worked for me, stop talking. Just stop talking, Patty. Just sit in the silence uncomfortably. Because in school, when we took a test and it was silent, I was the one that screwed it up for everybody. And then my other question is that coaching certification program coming to Region 3?
Well, Region 3, Region 2, and Region 3 are always invited. They're always invited to our class. In fact, we try to have it during different times of the day to accommodate for their hours. So we usually have one at 6 o'clock at night to accommodate some, and and in the middle of the day to accommodate some. So we try really hard to accommodate all 3 regions.
And how would we be notified of those?
We send out emails to all of the directors and above. No, I'm sorry. Right now, it's star directors and above.
That is why, because I'm
unless you speak Spanish. If you speak Spanish, I do directors and above. Because there's
maybe one day.
In fact, I have done superstar consultants and above, just because there's so few. But right now I've got a lot of directors. I've got a lot of new Spanish speaking directors. So I do directors and above, which is why I slipped. But in English, we do star directors and above now. It was only superstar directors. We've added star directors.
Patty's going to go out and buy the Rosetta Stone in Spanish, and then she's going to message you.
My cousin has his own language school, and I work for him doing social media. So I'll just say, I need a class, please.
Awesome. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, but if it all star directors
Coming?
and super star directors should get an email from us.
But is it coming for directors in the future? Do you know?
We're trying really hard. It's a matter of scale. It's a matter of, there's only, Sydney and I that are doing it. And it's a class where, I know ACL, poor Sydney, she has so many. Again, my ACL class is like 30 and hers is like 3,000. So it's just a matter of scale. It's a matter of trying to make sure that we can give the class on such a scale that can be productive for everyone.
Just to a region 3 one, it's fine.
How do you recruit all the people for it? Region 3.
Well, we always feel like, I don't know, we always feel like the afterthought over here. So
I understand. Mexico's there, right there with you.
Yep. My cousin lived in Mexico, and he's still thinking of joining with his wife, who's Mexican. And so I understand that as well. It's just one of those things that we feel like we're so far away.
Yeah. But we have had some region 2 and region 3 people in our classes. So absolutely, it's there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for allowing me this opportunity to get to know a few faces. I've got a few names here too, but I've thoroughly enjoyed spending time with you guys. I love spending time with you guys.
Well, we know you could be doing 20 million different things, so we appreciate you getting on tonight. And we love you, and you look beautiful.
Oh.
And I know we all hope we get to see you. I know for a lot of people who events in person have been canceled. I was fortunate to get to see you here pretty soon, or not long ago, but I hope everyone gets to go to home office at boot camp at some point and get to meet you and hug you and see everyone. So thank you so much, Susan, for getting on. You're amazing, and we really, really, really appreciate you. And I recorded this, so a lot of people are going to get to see the recording. And you can go. Is this the last Zoom for tonight? So you get to actually, enjoy your evening.
Yes, I'm done. I'm done for the night.
Yay! Awesome.
Can't wait to see all of you guys and give you a bunch of hugs. And yes, hopefully Salt Lake. Hopefully some of you are doing World Tour. I don't know. I go to Puerto Rico or Mexico, or I might be going to Guam for World Tour, and then we'll see you there. But otherwise, reunion, leadership. Yes.
Awesome.
Jackie, you'll be a director by then. Leadership. All the rest of you, I don't know where you're sitting. Everybody was quiet, but you'll get there. Can't wait to meet you all.
That's the goal. I have a list of people that I'm going to hug, and Susan, you're now on that list. So I will meet you one day. Mark my words.
Okay.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you, Susan. We love you. We appreciate you.
No, love you guys too.
Bye.
Bye.